So I think the disclaimer is these are my words, not Doug's, right? Unless they come out positive. Yeah, I appreciate that opportunity, and I've done these, fill out the applications, and I know how much work Doug has put into it, and Ms. Kirschman and my wife, and I'm sure Terry Peters and Sue Reichert. Scoop has probably been involved in that too. Scoop is the nickname we give to Bruce Rolfe. He makes our kids at Climax-Scotts feel like we're in metropolitan Detroit with the newspaper coverage that we get. So it's been great. 16 years ago, God brought us to Climax-Scotts, and I've been blessed by my mom and dad, Lois and Bill Langs, who definitely are the reason I'm standing here today. And yesterday was Secretary's Day, right? Administrative Assistant. Well, the world's best secretary sits right here. My wife, Kim, happens to be Ms. Kirschman's secretary. She's my secretary. Her and I spend a lot of time at school, and she's absolutely fabulous. So any of these things that somehow that I get credit for surely should be directed toward her as well as other people. Other teachers, other people, this award, there are many people, I believe, who could garner an opportunity to be recognized for the things they do for kids. With that being said, if I get a few minutes, I know I have a captive audience, and so maybe I can. I'm sure we're much of us like-minded in this room, so maybe agree or disagree at that time. 27 years of education, and I have appreciated those days. And I tell kids, I have this one young man who always says, Coach, you do this, you do this, you do this. And I always say, hey, TJ, I haven't been to work one day in my life yet. I'm 51 years old. I haven't been to work yet. I said, that's a great thing to do. Every day I get to go to school and build those relationships, be with you. I'm 51 and I have not been to work yet. That's a great day. That's a great day. One of the things, as Doug said about test scores, we really try to emphasize this. I say this to people as much as I can. We understand there's this mysterious whatever out there that holds us accountable to standardized test scores. But I walk around to kids every day and I say, hey, we will refuse to be solely defined by a standardized test score. We understand, like in a football game or baseball game, there's a score. We refuse to be solely defined by the outcome of a game. We're trying to refuse to be solely defined by a standardized test score. Great example when he said taking young people to the ACT. Our school worked this out together this last weekend. The ACT was April 18th. We took a kid who is in a tough family situation. He scored a 15 on his first one, right? 15. We all know that's not where we want to be. So we drove him. He didn't have any ability to get to Kalamazoo Christian. So one teacher drives him there. The next teacher picks him up and brings him back after he gets done with that opportunity to see if he can increase that test score. Now, he and I were in that car together. I happen to be the one who took him. And so we're sitting there and we're talking, and he says, Coach, that just isn't where I want to be test score-wise. And I said, I understand, son. And sometimes people have a tough time understanding this. Not every kid can be a 21 on the ACT, but every kid can be successful. Every kid can be successful. So I look him in the eyes and I say, okay, you can't be a 21 maybe, you can't be a 22, but how is it, what do you have inside of you that's going to allow you to achieve certain things? So this isn't where your gift is at. We have to continue to find what gifts you have so you can be successful. And so we try to work in that area to find that gift that a young person has. Here's a great example. My son married a young lady from Climax-Scotts. She was a 17 on the ACT. Finished top 10 in the class, right? Incredibly tough young lady. I always tell stories. When she was in 7th grade, she was a wrestler. I watched her wrestle boys. And one day, I mean, she's just getting beat, but she refused to get pinned. I turned to somebody and I said, man, she's going to make somebody a great wife someday. That is one tough young lady. Well, now she happens to be the mother of 2 of my grandchildren. So the statement was true. She was a 17. I can remember trying to score higher than that. That's all she could score was a 17. She goes off to college, becomes a 3.9 in college. 3.9 in college. She goes outside of Chicago. She graduates as one of the top students they ever had in their early education program. Because she had something different inside of her. She had something different inside of her. And those are kind of those key things that we try to grasp. Doug had mentioned a few years ago we had a foreign exchange student. His name was Paul Kramer. Came from Germany. brilliant student. I knew it. He lived with us. And I said, you know what, Paulie, I want to try something with you. I want you to take the ACT. I just want to see what you scored, because I could tell this kid was top notch. He takes it, gets a 29. I said, wow, Paulie, that's pretty good. So we had a brilliant young man in front of us. We're getting near the end of our school year. And I said, hey, Paulie, you looking forward to going back home to Germany? He doesn't say anything. Just kind of, I'm thinking, wow, you can't like live with me that much. There's no way. And I said, what's the deal, Paul? And he says, Coach, it's this. I'll never forget it. He said, I'm not looking forward to the stress on my life. I said, Paul, you're 16 years old. What stress do you have? And he says, it's education. I said, what do you mean it's education? He says, when I go back, the stress that is put on me educationally. He was in one of the elite public schools in Germany. I said, so explain to me what you mean. I said, first of all, I said, compare education at Climax-Scotts versus Germany. He said, there's absolutely no doubt that the academic rigor was tougher at Germany. I said, then what are you looking at? He says, Coach, there are days and I'm in class till 6 o'clock at night. There's days I'm in class till 6 o'clock at night. I said, no, you're not. He said, yes, there are. There's days I'm in class till 6 o'clock at night. And I said, when you compare Climax-Scotts in Germany, I said, what's the difference? He says, it's pretty simple. In Germany, it's what I learned. It's what I learned. And I said, then what about Climax-Scotts? He says, it's how I learn. I said, wow, that's profound. So he says, I'm in a stress because what I learned. He says, I enjoy the environment of how I learn. So the same year, we had a student who was from South Korea, right? His name was Solomon. So the next day I walk up to Solomon. I said, Solomon, he's telling me he goes to school till 6 o'clock at night. He says, yeah, Coach, there's some nights I go to 9 o'clock at night. I have lunch, I have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and don't get to see my family. I said, you're kidding me. He says, no. So I always ask the question, who are we chasing in this planet, if it's test scores, if it's education, right? To me, education is a process. We always call it the Climax-Scotts process when I talk to kids. Hey, you might be here right now, but where's the process that we can get you to be that champion in life you want to be at that end? It's a process, not a score. Not a score all the time. It doesn't end here, but it's a process to be where we're at. Another good story. I have a friend who is a teacher in Lansing. He and his wife are professionals. Their children attend one of the prestigious, socioeconomically speaking, too, public schools outside of Lansing. And he gives me this story. Here's another one that I struggle with. And he and his wife were going to take a trip to the UP. They had some business. And so they're going to get set. And for the first time, they had young daughters in elementary. They wanted to take their daughters across the bridge so they can get some fudge and do some things and take a family trip. And I think they had to be out of school on a Thursday and Friday. So they call up their school and say, hey, our daughters are going to be gone a couple of days. He said within a day or so, he gets a call back saying, hey, we really don't want your daughters missing any school. This is important to our test scores. These are 2 key days. And he said, this is important to my daughter's education of life. I want to take my daughters across that bridge. I want to spend some time with them. He said there are times his 2nd grade daughter has an hour of math every night. And there was a time they just said, hey, let's stop. We want to have dinner as a family. If that means our test score goes lower, so be it. And that's 2 professional people. And so those are the areas that I struggle in with education. I see people saying things like this. We got to be college ready. We got to be college ready. We got to be college ready. What about life ready? What about life ready? In its success, and I'm sure everybody in this room, we've been to college, right? And I tell parents this when we sit down and we talk about where their son or daughter want to go to, where they want to go to school, things that they want to do. I said, do you understand what happens with your son or daughter's freedom as soon as they leave here, they step on a college campus? Do you really understand what's going to happen? The amount of freedom that's going to occur. No ACT score is going to help them handle that freedom and that decision making. Are they going to be ready for that? Are you going to be ready to sit there with nobody telling you have to have your homework finished, your papers, let alone we know the social life that goes on? I dropped my daughter off this last summer, right? By the time I moved her in, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. And there were hundreds of college students all around, 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm not sure that was college ready. Maybe that's, I take that back, maybe that is college ready. In that process. And so we try to take that and to get a student to say, hey, are you ready to take on that decision-making process? And I know that, and sometimes for some young people, that process is longer and the time frame is a little bit different. And so we look at that. We look at that well. We just had our junior class, right? We had 231s. We're 55 kids in our junior class. 231s on the ACT. That's dynamite. 227s, a couple 25s, 23s. Fabulous, right? Guess what, though? We got 14s, we got 15s, we got 16s. And those kids, you got one chance to live this life. One chance. And they want to live it too. So I don't want to sit there and tell them, hey, my goodness, you're here and they're here, and all of a sudden that's our one opportunity to live this thing. We say it's like the Statue of Liberty, right? Give me your tired, give me your poor, right? Give me your 14 and give me your 15. Let's see what we can do with it. Great things with 31s. We love to do great things with 31s. It's awesome we have 2 31s. By the way, they both happen to be football players. They both happen to be football players. So, as a matter of fact, they're both dual sport athletes. So we think that's pretty good. Coming from a small school that doesn't offer all the advanced classes that you can get in other places, but something else must be going on. But give me your 14 and 15, 16 and 17. Let's see what we can do with life. It's a kid. It's a human being. It's flesh and blood. It's not a doggone number. Man, I got one chance to live this thing. One chance. I always tell kids, they laugh at me, right? I say, you got one chance to live this thing, right? There are no do-overs. They all like Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty's a really easy game. As soon as I lose, what do I push? Reset, let's start it again. I said, life's not like that, man. There's no reset button. This is it. This is it. And so we attack it that day. Not always perfect by far, not even close. But as Doug said, the chance to be in a kid's mud puddle, be part of that journey has been just a great blessing. And feel very fortunate the good Lord brought us here and be a part of Climax-Scotts in this region. So with that being said, thank you very much.